How to get through writer's block. 7 actions to overcome this malady. Welcome everyone to another session of Writing with Randy, where we talk about writing, speaking, coaching, marketing, and marriage. Today we're speaking about writing again. And we're going to talk about how to get through writer's block. 7 actions to overcome this dreaded malady. Well, if you want to get through writer's block, just stay tuned and we'll give you some tips for some ways to overcome that. First of all, look at your plan. And then we will talk about write a different section. Write 2 pages of a list of reasons. Ask yourself some questions. Set a timer. Do some free writing. Or do some fast writing on an unrelated topic. And take a break. Just make sure your break is not days long. So first of all, look at your plan. Is your plan, is it just a word or two? Actually, in making an outline for myself, I don't like to go beyond just the second level, which would be you would have your Roman numerals, that would be your main points, and then you would have just one below that, which some people outline it with letters, others do it with Arabic numbers. I do Arabic numbers because it's easier to think of a list of numbers than it is a list of letters. But anyway, some people go then beyond that with various points below the Roman numeral part, and then the first part under that, and then a list of subpoints down below that, and then subpoints below the subpoints. Well, you use whatever works for you, what is best for you. But if you're having writer's block, you may not have gone down far enough. And if you're like me and you just like to go down maybe one level, maybe this would be a time where you would want to go in and include some more subpoints. And what I talk about here in a minute will give you some ways of doing that. Well, here's another idea for overcoming the dreaded writer's block, and that is just go to a different section of your book. Now, if you're writing fiction, you may not have had it planned out that far, but actually there are even ways to do that with fiction where you could write in any section that you wanted to write. And sometimes that will help you. You're not as excited about a certain chapter, you might be more excited about a later chapter. Now, if you're doing nonfiction, if you plan your book out correctly, you should be able to go to a different chapter or a different section within a chapter. And sometimes that will help you. You get the momentum going, and then you go back to the part that you have been dreading. So those are 2 things. The first one is just to look at your plan, see if you need to expand it. The second one is to write a different section in your book. Now, here's the third one. And this works especially well if you are doing nonfiction. And this is just to get you a piece of scratch paper, or 2 pieces of scratch paper actually, and just as quickly as you can, start listing a bunch of reasons why what you're talking about is important. Try to come up with 2 pages of reasons. Then you should not use them all, but once you have come up with 2 pages of reasons, then you can go back through and pick out some of those, and you'll say, oh, I should have had those in my chapter anyway, and you go back through and put some of those in. So, and also you have primed the pump when you're doing this. Okay, now here's another very valuable one, and that is to simply ask yourself some questions. Now, my book about how to write a book in 28 days or less without stressing yourself to death, I show you a way that you can plan your whole book around just a list of questions. And if you have done it that way, then all you have to do is look at the question and answer the question. And then we talk about some ways that you can have some things that help you even just get started with that. Well, I'm sure you noticed I'm inside today. It's kind of cold outside and a little slick in some places. All right. Here's another one. But anyway, wherever you are, if you are at a little bit of an impasse, then ask yourself a question. If you have written an outline, or even if you just jotted down some words or phrases, just go to those and turn that around and make them questions, and then just answer the questions. And oftentimes this will get you going where you can get on through the writer's block. All right, another one is to set a timer. Now, some of us have different personalities. Some of us are fine with going through and writing something that you would go back through after that and you do your editing later. Others are more comfortable with perfecting their paragraphs as they go along. That's okay if that's your personality, unless it hinders you from getting your book done. And so if that's you, and that's what's causing you to be at a writer's block in your writing, then consider just forcing yourself to go through in that non-perfectionist way of writing. Just force yourself to write something that you may say, well, it's not any good. Well, force yourself to go ahead and write it. And then you can go back and edit it after that. Now, here's something that can help you to be able to force yourself to write in some ways. And that is to set a timer, just a simple kitchen timer. And you set your timer, and then you write just as quickly as you can. And you're forcing yourself to write as quickly as you can. And then when the timer goes off, then you can go back and edit it and polish it and make it whatever you want it to be. But we call this free writing. When you go through there, you're writing quickly. You'll notice that craftspeople, that whenever they do things over and over again, certain carpenters, plumbers, people like that, they do their things very, very quickly, and they do them very well because they have such experience at doing it. So you write quickly. And then here's another technique. Do some fast writing, like what I was talking about, but on an unrelated topic, something that's not part of your book. Just think of something to write about. And if you're using the timer, which I would recommend, just set it for 5 minutes and sit there and write for 5 minutes on an unrelated topic. And whenever you get through, you will find that often you have overcome the block, because now you have been able to write something and you've overcome that block. And then you'll go back into what your real topic of your book is, or your chapter, and then just go ahead and write from that, because you have primed the pump, so to speak. Now here's another one. Maybe it's time to take a break. And oftentimes whenever you come back after the break, you'll be ready to write. Now, I just want to caution you, just make sure that break is not 1 or 2 days long. But sometimes it's good to take a break and then come back to your writing. Well, I hope that's been helpful to you. And if you'd like more tips like these, go to randysblogs.com. If you're interested in having me speak at an event, go to randycarney.com. You'll have some information there. And then there is a book, I mentioned it earlier, How to Write a Book in 28 Days or Less Without Stressing Yourself to Death. And that has that technique of planning your book that I mentioned earlier. But anyway, you can go to that. You can find it at Amazon.com and just search for how to write a book. If it doesn't come up that quick, keep on going to in 28 days or less. And usually it's come up by then, but if not, then go on to Without Stressing Yourself to Death. Or you can just search for me at Amazon.com and you'll find it there. Well, I hope you have a great day, wonderful week, the rest of the week. And I'll talk to you again on another time of Walking with Randy. And remember, you can write a book.